Welcome back to another episode of a strange and mysterious podcast. And of course, I'm one of your hosts, G. Please introduce yourself, sir.
I am Define 999.
Mr.
I'm here to define some shit.
Hey, he's the new, the boss on Halo. If you haven't played Halo yet, you got to play Halo.
You got to play Halo. Define 999's putting in work, taking shotties to bodies.
Shotty to shotty. You already know how that go.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
We definitely want to start off this podcast by saying, we stand with Ukraine. God bless those people that are over there. We're thinking of you and we're cheering for you. So God bless y'all.
Oh yeah, the people of Ukraine. I can't remember the last time I saw balls as big as some of those guys, man. Mm-hmm. From the president on down to the mayor of Kyiv to I've been watching videos of just soldiers basically, they got balls. They got monster balls.
Definitely, and unfortunately for Russia, the USSR, they've had a long string of crazy, strange, and mysterious rulers, unfortunately. Yeah. And for today's topic, I think it hits, that category very good. And then this is episode 22. So this episode is dedicated to the Ukrainian people. Stay strong. We got your back, definitely.
Yep, we got your back.
Definitely. This episode is 10 strange facts about Rasputin.
Rasputin.
That was nuts, man. I'm not saying it's aliens, but I'm saying it's aliens. I'm just saying.
He was a nutty dude. Hard to kill, too.
Hard to kill, definitely. All right, well, let's get this started.
Rasputin was one of Russia's most enigmatic, influential, and iconic figures.
He looks strange.
Here are 10 amazing facts about Rasputin.
He was a freaky
Number
dude.
10. He could predict the future. In a famous letter written to the Tsarina shortly before Rasputin's death, Rasputin predicted both the death of the imperial family and the start of the Bolshevik Revolution. In the letter, Rasputin stated that he would be murdered, but he also stated that if his murder was by the hands of nobility, then the entire imperial family would also be killed. He went on to predict a time of great bloodshed in Russia. A short while later, Rasputin was murdered by the hands of noble men. 7 months later, the Bolshevik Revolution began. 15 months later, the Tsar, his wife, and all their children were brutally killed.
They don't look happy in that picture. Look at him.
No.
Number 9. He was illiterate.
But, that's an interesting thing that they say that he could predict stuff, right?
Yeah.
And this is just one of the strange things that this man could do, My thing is, if he could predict, his future, why didn't he do anything about it?
Well, that leads to, there are some prophets that believe that certain things in, coming up in the future, certain major acts are unstoppable. They're fated to happen. So maybe he knew he was going to die, and the other thing to think about too is when prophets somehow see the future, do they see maybe the future is more malleable than we realize, and it just looks like this, most likely there's like an 80% chance this is going to happen, or a 90%, or they can look into the future and they could say, well, this is probably going to happen this way. And if it does, it's going to break down like this. And it's waiting for specific things. So who knows? Maybe that was part of it.
Yeah, that was always a question for me. If you knew that someone was going to murder you, why don't you set up, defenses to stop it? So I don't know. Yeah. Let's keep seeing what else this mysterious man could do.
Crazy Rusky.
It's hard to believe that a man as powerful and influential as Rasputin couldn't read, but Rasputin was illiterate. Although Rasputin rose to power and spent a lot of his life in the wilds of aristocracy, Rasputin came into this world a very poor man.
He just looks
Rasputin was born in 1869 to peasant parents in one of the most remote regions on Earth, Siberia. He was the 7th child born, but the only one who survived. All his other brothers and sisters died prematurely. Because his family was so poor, Rasputin had little schooling in his childhood and never learned how to read. He remained illiterate into his adulthood. It is amazing that such an uneducated man, born in such a remote place on Earth with such modest beginnings, went on to become one of the most influential people in Russian history.
Dude, look at his nails. Damn.
Number 8.
It always kind of seems that the most uneducated people have the best chance of becoming a president or leader of a country. Am I wrong?
No. Because this is the thing. Just because you have an education doesn't mean you're smart. There are people that even without an education are master manipulators, manipulators. And particularly if they have a high IQ. I mean, look, I'll give you an example. Look at that Anna chick, that Harris, that Russian Harris that basically robbed New York's elite social class for millions of dollars. She was just a master manipulator. She knew how to use people. And that's what I think Rasputin, somewhere, it was like just the right mix of smarts, intelligence, social intelligence, manipulate, because manipulating is something you got to, like anything in life, you've got to learn it. You've got to go through your life practicing it, right? It's not like you just pop out of the womb and are a master manipulator. It takes time. So,
also, I think the mystique of what was around him helped to influence people, right? He can tell the future, or, he can't die. I think that was part of the mystique for people.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's the other thing, people don't realize that what magicians do is that they're able to use tricks and sleights of hand and all kinds of stuff to make people think that they have powers. And back at the turn of the century, there were a lot of people like Rasputin running around, mystics, and people were, doing seances, and there was a lot of belief in the supernatural. And you want to talk about strange, Rasputin was just let that aura kind of, it's almost like you take a magician, a manipulator, intelligence, and you mash them all up, and you get guys like Rasputin.
Definitely. And you saw the effect it had on Russia.
Yeah, and then all you got to do is learn how to manipulate the right people. And he went straight to the top.
Definitely. All right, let's see what else this crazy motherfucker did.
Could heal people. After spending time in a monastery, Rasputin decided that he had healing powers. He was a self-proclaimed healer, claiming that he could heal people of illness with his mystical knowledge and powers. Whether or not this was true, he did heal at least one person, the Tsar's son, Alexis. The Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra had a sickly child. Alexis suffered from hemophilia, a rare condition where blood is unable to clot. Rasputin met the Tsar in St. Petersburg, where they had already heard of Rasputin's mystical ability to heal the sick. Alexandra begged Rasputin to cure her son. Rasputin spent the night with the child, and by the next morning, his bleeding had stopped. Some historians believe that Rasputin had simply calmed the boy through hypnosis. Others believe that it was Rasputin's orders for the boy to stop taking aspirin, which is a blood thinner. Either way, Rasputin did, in essence, somehow heal the boy. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Daily Top 10s with notifications on. Number 7. He had a religious awakening. Although Rasputin is known for his mysticism and religious beliefs, he didn't always have those beliefs. In fact, before Rasputin became a self-proclaimed holy man, he was a domestic man with a wife and children.
His beard game,
However, one day, in 1897, after a decade of marriage, Rasputin spontaneously decided to take a pilgrimage to the St. Nicholas Monastery, 300 miles away. No one knows for sure what prompted this pilgrimage, but it was a pivotal event in his life. Rasputin had a religious awakening at the monastery, and this awakening forever changed him. He began calling himself a holy man, and even went so far as to call himself a Christ in miniature. And although he's been nicknamed the Mad Monk or the Black Monk, Rasputin was never actually a monk, as he never took the required monastic vows. He remained a spiritual man, though, throughout the remainder of his life. Number 6. He wasn't into...
See, that's interesting, right? He basically had a prophecy, right? An experience, that made him want to, mimic in a very twisted way, which always happens, right? People take an idea and they start twisting it into their own psyche. And if you have somebody like, Rasputin, which, he was a little nuts, the events for other people are, pretty awful.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like he turned himself into a twisted Jesus.
Mm-hmm. I think that, name, the Black Monk, fits him.
Yeah.
And, like I tell you, man, what gets me with Rasputin is his eyes. Like, they're just piercing.
Yeah.
And just like that crazy stare. Almost, you seen that picture of Charles Manson, right?
Oh,
Where he's
yeah.
just like looking at you.
Yeah.
Rasputin almost has the same look.
And the crazy thing about it is that Manson was like a Rasputin.
Mm-hmm.
He had followers, he had mysticism, he had, he believed he, could speak to God. He, that's a perfect analogy because I think Rasputin and Manson, you change a couple little small factors here and there, and you almost have the exact same person.
No, I agree.
Crazy.
I was just thinking like that look in his eye. I'd seen it before, and it's Charles Manson.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at this Black Monk with that beard game. Let's see what
he's got his beard games on point. I mean, a hippie, bohemian, hipster would. I promise you, there's hundreds of hippie bohemian hipsters right now with that exact beard.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I got that black monk beard. That's that.
I'm doing my Rasputin.
Hey, you got that rasp on? Me too. That's cool.
Yep.
All right, let's continue.
Personal hygiene. Rasputin was known for his lack of personal hygiene, which is strange considering he spent a lot of his time in palaces surrounded by noblemen and royalty. He had awful table manners and would often lick the serving spoons. Pieces of food fell into his bushy beard, but instead of cleaning his beard, he'd just allow the pieces of food to rot. His clothes were filthy, and he even bragged once that he hadn't changed his undergarments in over 6 months. Rasputin's lack of hygiene became a source of contention amongst the nobility. To some, his blatant disregard for hygiene and manners was a sign of disrespect. Others, however, seemed intrigued by his robust smell and appearance and felt that his filth was a sign of personal pride and contempt for the upper class.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Number 5, he had...
Hey, they should have taken him out earlier with that smell.
Oh, my God. I'd be like, dude, listen, we love having you around. It's cool. We love hearing your stories.
You're awesome, bro.
Yeah, they're like, everything else, you're rad, but go clean the fuck up, right?
Right? You still got that chicken from 2 months ago. You got to get that out of there.
Or you'd be like, man, I can't not stare at that piece of chicken that I saw fell into your beard 2 weeks ago. It's still there. Let me just get that for you.
I think it's growing or changing color. One of the two.
Nasty.
Oh, that's a nasty man. All right, let's continue.
Celebrity status. If Rasputin were alive today, he'd be racking up the likes and followers on social media. Despite his unsavory habits, awful hygiene, and contentious affairs, Rasputin was a very popular man.
What girl?
He was enigmatic and mysterious.
Shit.
People were drawn to him wherever he went. In fact, by the time Rasputin reached St. Petersburg, he was so popular that noblemen invited him to their parties so they could parade him around like a prize. It wasn't just the noblemen, though, who adored him. Rasputin had no shortage of lady friends. In fact, women lined up in the streets to see him. And although he had some enemies in some pretty high places, he had even more dedicated followers in even higher places. And his loyal followers remained loyal even after his demise. People prayed for him long after his death. In fact, when the Romanovs were murdered, their daughters were wearing a picture of him around their necks.
What? You know, it's crazy, man. You know, for whatever reason, there's a population of women that love deranged and crazy men, even to this day, right?
Yeah, that's why serial killers get love letters in jail.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, that's what that reminded me of with Rasputin. I mean, he stunk. He had, you know, freaking chicken in his beard, probably. Ugh. And girls still didn't care. Hey, just to let y'all know, you don't have to be good looking. You just got to be famous, right?
Basically famous, and you will get girls. You will get chicks.
Oh, my goodness. Any woman that slept with Rasputin, you're the real MVP. Holy shit.
Yeah, you ain't holding the bench. You're shooting threes. You're shooting threes from half court.
Oh, my God.
To be with that dude.
Hey, that really stinks. All right. Let's continue.
Number 4. He's still a star today. Even though Rasputin died on December 30th, 1916, he remains popular today. The character of Rasputin continues to pop up throughout the entertainment industry. Rasputin has appeared in countless TV episodes, including Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Forever Now, and Seinfeld. He is the main villain in the popular 1997 animated feature film Anastasia. And of course, he is the subject of the hit song Rasputin by Boney M. There are even rumors that Leonardo DiCaprio is set to play Rasputin in an upcoming biopic. Rasputin may have died years ago, but his legend lives on today, which is a true testament to his invulnerability.
Even that drawing's weird.
Number 3. He was family to the Romanovs. Rasputin was extremely close to the Romanov family. In fact, he was their unofficial advisor and counsel, and they trusted Rasputin fiercely. So when Rasputin had a vision one night, he shared this vision with the Tsar and the Tsarina. Rasputin was adamant that the Tsar had to take control of the Russian army himself, or the army would not succeed and the results would be disastrous. The Tsar and his wife listened to Rasputin, and the Tsar followed Rasputin's recommendation. He left St. Petersburg to command the Russian army. The consequences of this decision were devastating, as the Russian army suffered insurmountable losses during World War I. The public blamed the Tsar, and the Tsar quickly fell from popular favor. This paved the way for the upcoming Bolshevik Revolution in 1917. The Romanovs never blamed Rasputin for his ill advice, though. They considered him family, and they loved him fiercely until the end.
Man.
Number 2.
Hey, you could be dead wrong, and people still love you.
They'll love you. If you've got, again, if you have that social power, that ability to manipulate, you know, let's go back to Manson. There are still, you know how Manson had his Manson girls?
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's still 1 or 2 of them that died in prison that went to their graves still following Manson.
That's nuts, man. Even, you know, for him, Rasputin, you know, making that false claim and, you know, the army, you know, getting their ass whooped, they still didn't blame him. That's nuts, man.
He had him like this, bro. He had the Romanovs by the balls.
Que no de los huevos.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's nuts. All right, let's see what else.
Survived a stabbing. On July 12, 1914, Rasputin was viciously stabbed in the stomach by an angry peasant woman. Chianoya Guseva, a 33-year-old religious woman, accused Rasputin of corrupting innocent people. And so she decided to take matters into her own hands. She attacked an unsuspecting Rasputin on the streets, stabbing him in the stomach. Somehow, Rasputin survived the stabbing, even though several doctors were sure he would die. Word of this stabbing and Rasputin's survival spread quickly and gave way to rumors that Rasputin was even more powerful than people originally thought. He became known as a man who could not be killed. This propelled his status as a mythical healer and holy man. He was not, however, completely unscathed by the stabbing. He complained of stomach pain until his death. Number 1. He was really hard to kill. Although Rasputin's life was legendary, his death was even more so. In fact, the legends surrounding the death of Rasputin have been widely written about, and it's seemingly impossible to sort fact from fiction. Apparently, his enemies invited Rasputin to a party where they served him cake and wine laced with cyanide. But when Rasputin seemed unaffected by the poison, they shot him in the back. Rasputin fell to the floor, but then quickly got back up. From there, he ran outside where his enemies pursued him. Outside, they shot him twice more. Rasputin finally collapsed. They wrapped his body in a cloth and tossed him into an icy river to absolutely ensure his death. But when Rasputin's body was found several later, the clothes he'd been wrapped in showed signs of struggle. Had he been alive in the river? It's impossible to know for sure. But either way, legend has it that Rasputin was really hard to kill. It possibly took cyanide, 3 bullets, countless men, and an icy river to finally kill the invulnerable Rasputin. Check out our previous...
Wow.
That is freaking nuts. They shot that motherfucker 3 times, dropped him in an icy river, and he was still fighting for his life.
He was like that generation's 50.
Right? Hey, hard to kill.
Hard to kill.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, let's do final thoughts. The 599, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. I love having a history focus to our podcast. I think that's super cool. I think that, we can learn a lot about history. We're literally living through history right now.
Definitely.
So I think that if you're one of those people, like a Rasputin, like a Manson,
Dahmer,
then you have powers. You have power over other human beings. And just like anyone who has power, just like, the Spider-Man story, with great power comes great responsibility. And if you are a master manipulator, I would hope that you use those powers for good. I would hope that you're, running a homeless shelter or a detective or, some place where having that ability to manipulate does good.
Definitely.
A detective has to figure out ways to manipulate perps. I think even sometimes doctors need to be good manipulators of manipulating the system to get what they need to keep their patients alive. Use your power for good. Do not be a Charles Manson. Don't do
Definitely. Definitely. I agree.
Those are my final takes.
Definitely. For my final take is, don't believe the snake oil salesman 2.0. Don't believe the people that, only care about themselves, because we see that with world leaders now, right?
Yeah.
Where, they say stuff and then they go against what they say, in Putin's case, right?
Yeah. It's a big lie.
A big lie.
Manipulating
right?
all of us.
He's manipulating, the worst is he's trying to manipulate his own people.
Yeah.
Right. And, the great thing is that we're starting to see, resistance in his own country where people, because of social media, can start to think for themselves. Yep. Right.
That's the beauty of technology.
I think that beware, like they say in the Bible, right, of false prophets. Rasputin being one, and Putin and whoever else is out there.
Manson,
spilling lies, Manson, Dahmer,
Saddam Hussein, Bin Laden.
Beware of those types of individuals that would only, care about for themselves. And so don't believe people that have their own interests at heart and don't really care about you. Get educated. One of my favorite sayings is this: those that do not know history are doomed to repeat it. So please get educated and don't be following any of that craziness out there. So, Anyways, that's been our podcast, episode 22. We will catch you on the rebound. Peace out. We out. Peace. Peace, peace, peace.